Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Justin Lin's Fast 5 from 2011. Yes, we are back once again, very successful from the channel this time around. We're here for the 5th entry in the Fast and Furious franchise, and yeah, what a film this one is. First of all, there'll be a spoiler warning on this discussion. If you haven't seen this film, simply recommend seeing it first, and then come back to this video, and we can go from there. We can talk about it from the comments, and yeah, celebrate cinema. And so yeah, with all that said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film, and yeah, we'll get straight into it. You know, I absolutely loved this film, and you know, I think it was such a kind of mind-blowing experience, and you know, I think just obviously I'd been, you know, briefly, you know, been quite a big fan, you know, of the series up to this point. You know, obviously going through these films for the first time on the channel, and you know, just always wanted to kind of do this, to watch these films, and yeah, I obviously really enjoyed, you know, quite a few of these films, and you know, just was so invested even before this film, Fast 5, you know, in the franchise. You know, various characters like Dom and of course, you know, Brian, Mia, and all these different characters, even just, you know, side characters, background characters that appeared, you know, in different films, and I was just, yeah, really pumped to see this one. You know, I'd heard, you know, the kind of praise that this one got, and yeah, I was so happy to see this. But even then, I think this really exceeded my expectations, and it just really, from start to finish, blew me away. And even though some parts at first, you know, there's a couple of, you know, elements here and there, you know, a couple of scenes that weren't, you know, the greatest, most investing. I think other than that, you know, the rest of the film just got better and better and better, and you know, I was just blown away by the action and just the characters as well. You know, throughout this film were just so enjoyable. There's a great mix of comedy and drama and action, of course, and just building of the plot, which is so kind of, for the most part, you know, simple, easy to follow. Just this whole massive heist, you know, the central one in the film. Obviously, we've got some, you know, kind of heists before that kind of thing, but you know, the main one in this film, and they'll build up to this, and just showing all the details and how it kind of culminates really in the final act in this massive kind of set piece, of course, with the vaults and the cars. You know, just the way in which this film unfolds, and you know, the structure to this, and all the, as I say, the characters and the balance of comedy and drama, you know, in this one, I was just so blown away. And you know, I think it does elevate, you know, characters I already loved, various characters like Brian and Dom, and you know, takes them to a different level. And the performances as well, you know, I think obviously Vin Diesel, Paul Walker in this again, and this time we get, you know, for me, something that wasn't really in 4, where they were kind of bickering too much, and it was a bit too kind of one-sided. We get the return of their, you know, kind of a bit more, you know, well-rounded relationship that they had in the first film, and more of the kind of the charm, the camaraderie back in this one. And also, I think, you know, their, you know, kind of relationship, you know, is taken to a different level, and you know, I think the performances, you know, as well, you know, both of these, you know, Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, you know, just wow in this film. Paul Walker was just unbelievable. Vin Diesel, you know, at his best so far, you know, in this franchise, and we have as well The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, in this film as Luke Hobbs, and you know, his DSS agent, and you know, he's basically on their case, you know, throughout a lot of the film, and eventually, the great thing about this one, you know, it's just something I didn't really know it would happen in this film, because obviously I'd never seen it, and you know, didn't look into the plot too much at all. You know, the great thing is he does eventually join them for this heist, you know, the central heist of the film, and that is just so great and so pleasing to see. It's just such a satisfying kind of film, this, and you know, I think, yeah, as I say, all the performances in this, of course, Jordana Brewster is back, and she is great in this film, and you know, a lot of the newcomers as well, but you see obviously Gal Gadot, Soon Khan in this film, developing this kind of relationship with their characters, and you know, that is just really amazing to see. And obviously Tyrese Gibson is back in this film as Roman Pierce. You know, that was something I just loved seeing, and all these different characters are just at their best, you know, in this film. One's from a variety of the different films before this, you know, obviously Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, you know, the first one obviously, and Too Fast, Too Furious, you know, ones that did not interact before, you know, this film, and they're all kind of brought together in this one for this, you know, heist, you know, to kind of do this as a team, and that kind of aspect of this, you know, that kind of the buzz of it, you know, and the kind of the first time event of that, you know, it's just it's so well done in this. It's just, they capture this kind of magic, you know, I feel, and this energy, and all the comedy, especially from, yeah, Roman Pierce. You know, Tyrese Gibson in this film is just next level, and you know, he's hilarious in this, and you know, he's the one that cracks, you know, a lot of one-liners in this, and a lot of the comedy comes from him, and just the interactions in this, though, it's kind of, it's so kind of smooth, and you know, well done, and you know, I think just the script of this, you know, is really something else. And obviously we start off with the kind of breakout Dom, you know, from the bus, obviously, you know, we're seeing that, and then obviously people were pursuing him, the law, and they're kind of fugitives, him, Mia, and Brian, you know, Dom, and they all go to kind of Rio, of course, and yeah, it kind of unfolds from there. We have instantly, really, Luke Hobbs, you know, on their case, pursuing them, obviously because they're fugitives, and he's kind of chasing them. We've got some, absolutely stunning action. The train, of course, sequence, that was something else, and the way that they go off the kind of the cliff there with the train track next to them, and just the slow mo there, and just kind of Brian, hanging on, and then that was just nuts, really insane stuff there, and they made it work so well, and just all the kind of details though, of that train sequence, and the way it was so involving, and just kinetic and so well shot. I thought, okay, now we're onto something. This is probably going to be, so far at least, it's a step up. I thought in that sense with the action even more than the previous ones, and obviously the great idea for me, I definitely agree with this, to kind of make this franchise, at this point, about, more heists and, spy type action films as opposed to street racing. As much as I did really enjoy that, I think I felt that even though, it was really enjoyable for its own kind of unique flavour, I think they'd kind of done all they really could have done in that sense. I just found with Fast 4, they were already kind of Fast and Furious. They're already kind of transitioning a bit away from that, and that one was a bit more of a generic action film. Whereas this one, they kind of went all in with the kind of heists, and they just committed to kind of creating their own unique kind of way forward from the franchise. And I thought that was just so good to see that finally. And when it's all about the heists and these. Just seeing these spy type action films, I think that's just way more appealing to me personally, my tastes, and in this one, the execution of it, is just phenomenal. So I think I'm so glad that they did kind of with this one really attempt to kind of do that, overtly kind of move into the heist type films and away from the street racing. Although it has got some elements and nice little nods and references and flourishes of the street racing kind of culture and their kind of previous lifestyle in that sense. I think it is all about the heists really in this, all about the characters as well, and they really elevate the characters. Just kind of more of a comedic kind of full-on blockbuster action film. So that's something I just was so kind of pleased to see, and with this one they got it so right straight away. And I will say, I don't think going forward any of the films will come close to this, because this one just blew me away. And I think, as I say, that train sequence at the beginning, that's what a way to kind of start the film. We have Ray's in this film, the kind of drug lord, and definitely not my favourite villain, but I did enjoy him in this film, and he got even better as the film went on, and his presence was definitely felt. But definitely not a great villain, but I did enjoy him in this film. So even there, just even though we have a couple of scenes, at first the way he's introduced, and it took a while for me to fully, see what was going on with him and his plans and all this and his motivations. As the film went on, in that sense, that even did pick up to a point where it wasn't an issue throughout the rest of the film, and it wasn't really about that, and they focused more on just the kind of the team spirit and the whole kind of bars and the energy and all the details of this massive, insane, epic heist. And I just thought as the film went on, all the dialogue got better and better, more investing in that sense, and just the action, the way it's structured, the layers to this, it does for me top itself constantly in this film, and all the hand-to-hand combat as well, unbelievable. Dom and of course Hobbs in this film, we got a massive kind of insane fist fight there, throwing each other around the rooms, and the glass and all this kind of stuff, and just the fact that you've got Vin Diesel and The Rock in this film, both big bulky guys going at each other. That was so satisfying to see, and that was so well done. The way this film is shot throughout and edited, is next level at times. I think, and just a massive step up from even the previous films, and I think it's just so well shot. The locations as well, seeing Rio and just all the locations in this film so kind of layered, and also I think varied in this film. It's kind of got that globetrotting effect, and I really think they went all in this one, and just the way this film looks and feels, the practicality of this, the stunts in this, and just as I say, the hand-to-hand combat. This was something else. But I think we've got kind of early on in the first act one of my favourite kind of campy action, kind of mental moments, in a film ever, and that is when, of course, Hobbs is chasing, Dom across the rooftops in Rio, and we just have this bit where, Dom is kind of jumping mid-air, and it's kind of slow motion, and you've got Hobbs coming behind, and Dom kind of clocks onto this. He realizes mid, jump, kind of switches around and sees what is going on there, and he kind of looks around while he's jumping, across the rooftop, while Hobbs is behind jumping as well, and he looks around while doing this, and then looks back again. I just thought, just in the way that was done, and you know, just the way that kind of it's looking around. I've never really seen that, you know, in a scene before like this, and it was just so funny to see, yeah, Dom kind of just looking around like that, cranking his neck out, and looking all the way around like an owl, and just as he's jumping, and yeah, Hobbs behind him. It was such an epic kind of campy, insane moment that I absolutely loved, and definitely one of my favourite moments. You know, I did rewind this part, you know, as we watched it. I just thought, no, we've got to rewind that. You know, that was just so funny and unbelievable stuff there, and yeah, definitely one of the funniest kind of action moments that I've ever seen in the film. Just why, but you know, just kind of baffling at first, but then I thought, I'm so glad they've done that, and that was, yeah, definitely one of the funniest moments. There's moments like this that are just so kind of over the top, and you know, they pulled off so well. They commit to the tone and just the whole kind of spirit of this film, and you know, I think consistently this one is just, as I say, so immersive. The visuals to this film, the use of music in this, you know, the score obviously, and just all building to that final act. We have that insanely epic, yeah, just feel good and you know, just unbelievable. You know, kind of, I was just on the edge of my seat, you know, kind of thing, and I was just, you know, kind of wowed by the whole final act constantly. It's just non-stop, you know, insane next level action and comedy, and just the way the action, you know, topped itself and surprised me, and just what they do with the vault there and attached to the cars, going through the street, smashing up all the buildings and all the cars, and obviously across the bridge there, culminating, yeah, on that bridge, and that was something else. With Ray's as well, you know, kind of meeting his end there, and his demise, and it was just the way it came together, this film, with all of the elements, of the threads, all of the side characters and the main characters, the way it kind of elevated things, developed different characters. Obviously, we learn that Mia is pregnant, you know, in this film, and it's just all these different revelations blended with the action, and the way we kind of see these characters develop, obviously, and as I say, just all these different new characters in this film being introduced. We've got the magic of that, and we've got the kind of way in which we're building on different, you know, as I say, characters, threads, you know, moments and arcs from previous films, and kind of tying them all together, and bringing all these different various characters like Han to see him interact with, you know, for example, you know, Dom and Brian in this film, obviously together, all three of them interacting, and also with, you know, Roman Pierce, and you know, just yeah, to see Han with everyone in this film was just so great, because obviously Tokyo Drift being its own thing, really, he's not really interacting with any of the characters that were in the main series, you know, obviously, and to see him in this film interacting with all these different characters, and just to see Soon Khan and Gal Gadot, you know, their characters kind of form this romance, you know, and this chemistry. It's just so enjoyable, and you know, I think, yeah, just as well, Brian and Mia in this film, you know, the way they develop that romance, and yeah, it's so well done in this, and you know, as I say, I can't really help but think, you know, going forward, none of the films will come close to this, but that's okay, because you know, I'm so pumped to see the next ones, and to see where things go. And you know, I did actually buy, you know, the next two films, you know, already on 4K. You know, the franchise, obviously, with the 6th and 7th entries, and you know, I think here on 4K, got both of them there, and we'll be watching them both, you know, within the next you know, couple of weeks, and you know, can't wait for that. Both on 4K, new and sealed, and yeah, just so pumped up. And I think going forward, I will actually buy, you know, really most of the rest of the series on 4K, just so I can own them and watch them whenever I want, you know, kind of thing, on physical media, and to own these films. And eventually I will buy the rest of the series as well at some point. And yeah, but for now, you know, so pumped up to see these next films, and to see where the franchise will go, you know, from here. And yeah, that'll be really cool to do, to kind of continue with the series. But this one, as I say, this is probably going to be, you know, for me, the pinnacle. You know, I don't imagine the rest of the films topping this. Just overall as an experience, you know, just everything, you know, in this film is so well done. It's just masterful action in the final act, I think, at times, and yeah, it's just so surprising, but in a way that you kind of expect, you know, for this film. But it just blew me away, this one, and you know, I think, as I say, these characters are just even more enjoyable in this film. All of the characters that were given their own kind of main film previously, you know, I think they're actually at their best in this film, all kind of as a team, you know, just kind of all interacting together, you know, just all the comedy in this film, the banter between, as well, Roman Pierce and obviously, you know, Brian, especially in this film. It was just so enjoyable, and just to see the chemistry between all these actors, the performances are something else. You know, you've got emotional parts of the film, and you've got these big, you know, fist-pumping moments, and just these comedic, charming moments. This is truly a magical film where all the comedy just works so well, and you know, all the, even just the stuff, you know, for the most part with the villain, you know, for you know, with with Ray's. It was just so enjoyable, and I think Dwayne Johnson in this film, this is just next level stuff, and I think definitely one of the single best kind of standout aspects of this film, and I think just as Hobbs, such a great character, and at first, him and his crew, I was thinking this will be really interesting to see where it goes. I was really intrigued, and I think afterwards I was realizing just how much I was invested, in that sense, and how intrigued I was, and then when things really unfolded, throughout the narrative, and he pursued, of course, our team, and then he did, eventually kind of join them for the heist. This is when, I was just thinking, wow, this is something else. And I think Hobbs in this film was definitely one of the best characters. And, I think to see The Rock, Dwayne Johnson in this franchise, and to see him interacting with all these different characters that I really loved and was so invested in, this is where, it's just something really, truly magical to see. And, I think just the way in which he's acting in this film is just something else. Great character in the writing, but, The Rock in this film, he was just so great. And, I think, as I say, definitely one of the standout aspects of this, and just the way in which all of these characters interact, it's done in such a charming way, kind of this team up, and I was just blown away by this, it really was. And I think just the structure and the momentum to the film, and the way it's shot, as I say, the action throughout is so kinetic, and the practicality of this is just something else, all the stunts, and just that final, kind of massive, insane, set piece of the film is just, pure, just cinematic, masterful action goodness, and I loved it so much, and it's just something that I thought once I saw this, after the end, kind of set piece here, I thought for me that's definitely I instantly said it, and kind of afterwards seeing the film, that's some of the best, and definitely one of the best at least set pieces, but overall as a film, it's one of the best kind of in the last few decades action films I've ever seen, and I think it's just so stunning, this, and masterful kind of build up at times, and just the way it's executed is something else, and also culminating that final kind of montage, in the sense after the kind of final interactions with Hobbs, obviously, and Dom and all these characters, to see how he does, of course, give them 24 hours, and he lets them go for the time being, and it's just so cool to see that, and I think the way that was done was so kind of warm and human, and it just sets up the next film so well, and I think also seeing various different characters, kind of where they are and how things went from the final scene, until afterwards, obviously, and what happened after the heist. In that sense, we see all the different characters in the montage with the music there, and obviously Han there, in the car, and to see Sun Khan and Gal Gadot there, and their romance kind of culminating there, kind of the closure to that, and just to see the setup really for the next film, and all these kind of characters, to see them in that montage, that was so satisfying as well, and it just got me so pumped up for the next film, and it's just something else. The way that was done was really quite perfect for me, in a sense. The final act and the kind of montage, it was just something else really, and I was just so kind of satisfied after seeing this film, so pumped up, and it was just blown away really from start to finish. There's a couple of points, as I said at first, where I was a bit unsure where it would go, and just a couple of bits that weren't quite, kind of to the standard of the rest of the film perhaps, but there were just a couple of scenes really at first, and just some of the plot, the way it was, kind of revealed at first, it was a bit, kind of, I'll see where it goes, but then I realised afterwards, just how much I was invested, already at that point. But the film got better and better, and towards the final act, where it was at times absolutely masterful. So absolutely love this film overall. The characters, the action, just the set pieces to this, the whole feel of this, the whole tone and the atmosphere, and just the thrill ride, and the campy, insane kind of nature of this one. It was just definitely a film that I absolutely loved. And so my rating for this film is a 96%. So an extremely high score from me, and just absolutely love this film, really from start to finish. It's just such a kind of investing film, all the kind of build up to the heist, and seeing all these characters interact from various different films, and as well Matt Schulze playing Vince, his kind of involvement in the plot was a bit more mysterious, and you've got that kind of character going on there as well, throughout the film, but also just the team, the main team for the heist, that we have all these different characters kind of from various different films, all kind of teaming up for this one. The interactions is just so kind of magical to see, and I think the action to this, the way it's layered and stacked, and the way it builds throughout the film, all to that final epic kind of 30 minutes really of just non-stop insane stuff, with the whole kind of the vaults there, and all the cars kind of going through the streets, and the aftermath as well. It's just chained together, in such a way. And, the performances to this film as well, just so great. And just Jordana Brewster, you've got Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, all this trio here, all these actors here, just so great. And also Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, in this film is next level. And, he's just so enjoyable in this film. And the way he does turn, at one point in the film, on their side in a sense, and he does a heist with them, and then that kind of a bit more of a complexity at the end there, the kind of him letting them off, and he's still going to have to pursue them afterwards. But it's just such a great moment there, and a great arc, within this narrative, and all these performances. Soon Khan in this film is at his best as well. Just saying something, and just so great to see all these characters like Roman Pierce and Han return for this film, and all of them in the same room, all of them kind of doing the same heist together. It's just so satisfying, and it really is magical cinema, this, and just so uplifting to see this. And it's just wow, it's such a kind of comedic film, and so upbeat and jolly, this one. And it's just a feel-good thrill ride of an epic charm fest. That's what I'll say. Just so kind of magical, this one, and it's just pure cinema. And really from start to finish, I was just blown away. I was so invested in this, and what can I say? Fast Five, for me is something else, and I was just blown away by this, and so hyped to see the next films in the franchise. And that'll be the next week that I talk about Fast and Furious 6, hopefully on the channel. And that'll be really cool to do, because I'm so pumped to see that film. And as I say, got it on 4K, own it now, so that'll be really so amazing to see. And can't wait for that, and to hear your thoughts on the films going forward. But for now, let's discuss this film in the comments. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on this. How's it compare for you to different films in the Fast and Furious franchise? That would be really cool, and just interesting to hear, in the comments, all your thoughts. And let's talk about this film down below, and celebrate cinema. So yes, as always, take care, and thanks for watching.